What if I told you that right now, inside your home, there are at least 5 things that could kill you in the first 24 hours of a winter blackout, and you probably haven't fixed a single one of them? I know that sounds dramatic, but I'm about to show you exactly how cold actually kills people, the real mistakes almost everyone makes, and the simple, cheap, brilliant fixes you can do today that could literally save your life during a deep freeze emergency. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into cold weather survival. Real, practical. Your house is 28 degrees and your breath looks like smoke. Survival. None of the fluff. None of the Instagram cabin in the woods fantasy. We're talking about how to stay alive in a frozen house for 72 hours or longer, without heat, without power, and without panicking. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and pay attention, because winter kills more people every year than hurricanes, tornadoes, and heat waves combined. And cold doesn't care where you live. Texas learned that the hard way. So did California. So did Oregon. So did the entire Northeast. If you think you're safe just because you don't get snow, you're already behind. Look, cold weather survival feels overwhelming, especially when you imagine pipes bursting, ice forming on the inside of your windows, and that creeping chill that steals the heat from your bones. But I've spent months researching, testing, and actually living through grid-down cold events. And what I'm going to give you is everything that actually works. Stuff you can do with things you already own or can grab from Walmart, Home Depot, or even your junk drawer. You don't need expensive survival gear, and you definitely don't need a wood stove the size of a Buick. You just need to understand the physics of how cold enters your home, how fast you lose heat, and how to trap that heat long enough to ride out the crisis. Before we start with the actual techniques, we need to talk about how cold kills. Because once you understand that, everything else makes sense. Most people think cold kills slowly, like you fall asleep peacefully in a cozy snowdrift like some Disney movie. Nope. Cold kills aggressively, mechanically, and predictably. It works on you in 3 major stages: heat loss, cognitive decline, and finally physical failure. And the speed at which this happens is terrifyingly fast once your core temperature starts dropping. Your body operates on what I call the 3-degree rule. If your core temperature drops even 3 degrees, you're in serious trouble. Below that, your brain starts malfunctioning, your hands stop working, your reasoning collapses, and you start making stupid mistakes that get you killed. And if you drop to 95 degrees or below, you are officially in hypothermia, and things get bad fast. But here's the important part. Cold doesn't kill evenly. It kills in layers, just like home security. You have your outer layer, your house structure and insulation. You have your middle layer, your clothing, your emergency heat sources, your ability to trap warmth. And then your inner layer, your actual body heat, your core temperature, your biological survival. Most people only focus on the inner layer. They think, I'll just wear a bunch of clothes and I'll be fine. No. If the outer and middle layers fail, you're basically trying to stay warm in a walk-in freezer. You can't outdress a 30-degree living room. You need all 3 layers working together. Cold looks for specific weaknesses in your environment: drafts, thin walls, uninsulated windows, open spaces, and worst of all, moisture. Moisture is the enemy. Wet clothes will drain your heat 25 times faster than dry air. And when your house freezes, moisture hides everywhere: your socks, your breath, your bedding, even your floor. So let's get into it. And we're starting with something that will blow your mind because it's the cheapest, easiest, most effective trick. And almost nobody does it. Your doors and windows. I don't care how well built your house is. 70% of heat loss comes from air gaps around your doors and windows. That's it. Not your walls. Not your roof. The tiny cracks you barely notice. Cold air is like a burglar. It looks for the weakest point and exploits it instantly. And your weather stripping. If it's more than 5 years old, it's basically useless. The rubber shrinks, dries out, cracks, and you end up with gaps big enough to slide a credit card through. In survival terms, that's like leaving your front door wide open. The fix: weather stripping tape, foam or rubber, $5. You slap it around your door frame, press it in, and just like that, you cut your heat loss dramatically. Same for your windows. Grab clear plastic wrap, the kind you use for covering leftovers, and a roll of painter's tape. Stretch the wrap over the inside of your window frame. Tape it tight, and you've just created a dead air barrier that works like double pane glass. You can do an entire room's windows for under 10 bucks, and the difference is insane. When you put your hand near a sealed window versus an unsealed one, the change feels like someone shut off a wind tunnel. While you've got that tape out, check the bottom of your exterior doors. If you can see daylight under it, cold air is absolutely pouring in. Grab a towel, an old blanket, a pool noodle cut in half, or even a rolled-up t-shirt, anything. Shove it at the base of that door. This is the kind of microfix that buys you hours of extra warmth. Now let's talk about the biggest cold weather mistake most people make, and this one shocks me every time. They try to heat the whole house. That is the fastest way to die in a winter blackout. Your house is not your survival shelter. Your house is too big, too drafty, too difficult to heat without electricity. In a frozen home survival situation, you do not live in your house. You downsize your life into one room. The smallest, warmest, most insulated room you have. A bedroom with no high ceilings, a walk-in closet, even a bathroom in some cases. The smaller the space, the easier it is to heat with your body and whatever emergency heat you have. Your goal is simple. Build a microclimate. Think of it like a warm bubble inside a freezing shell. Your house can be 32 degrees. Your microclimate can be 60+ degrees, and you can survive indefinitely if you maintain that bubble. Start by picking the room with the least exterior wall exposure. Push furniture against any exterior-facing walls. Throw blankets over the coldest surfaces. Seal the vents with tape or towels. If there's a window, cover it with blankets, garbage bags, a shower curtain, cardboard, whatever blocks air movement. Now here's where the survival magic happens. You hang blankets in the hallway leading to your warm room, creating dead air buffers. You close every other door in the house. You literally shrink your living space to a pocket of warmth. And suddenly your body heat, plus a candle, plus a couple emergency tricks we'll get into later, becomes enough to maintain tolerable temperatures. Speaking of candles, let's talk about emergency heat sources. Most people have heard of those candle-based flower pot heaters. Some work okay, some are garbage, but let me tell you a trick that actually does work. Tea candles. Not as your primary heat source, that's unrealistic, but in combination with your microclimate, they make a huge difference. A single tea candle will raise the temperature inside a small insulated tent by several degrees, and if your tent is your downsized survival room, that can be a lifesaver. But before we get into the clever heat hacks, let's talk layered clothing. This is where 90% of people screw up because they don't understand the physics. The worst thing you can do is throw on your warmest coat and think you're good. That's not how thermal layering works. You need 3 layers. A moisture-wicking base layer, an insulation layer, and a shell. Cotton kills in cold weather because it traps moisture. Jeans, terrible. Hoodies, not much better. You want polyester or wool as your base. Wool socks. Thermal leggings. A long-sleeved moisture-wicking shirt. Then your insulation layer. Hoodie, fleece jacket, flannel. Then your shell. Windbreaker, jacket, anything that stops air movement. Your head, hands, and feet are your critical zones. If your feet get cold, everything gets cold. If your hands get cold, you stop being able to do basic tasks. Your head, you can lose up to 10% of your body heat through your scalp. Wear a beanie, wear 2 if you have to. Now let's get into the fun stuff. Tricks that mess with the cold and make your environment way warmer. First one, build a tent inside your room. I'm not joking. Grab blankets, tarps, sheets, couch cushions, whatever you've got, and create a small insulated fort for sleeping. Your body produces about 100 watts of heat. Inside a small enclosed space, that heat gets trapped and builds up. I've measured the difference myself. In a 40-degree room, inside a blanket tent, it hits 63 degrees in under an hour. That's not just survivable, that's comfortable. Next trick, boiling water bottles. If you have a gas stove or a safe way to heat water, boil it. Pour it into plastic water bottles, not thin disposable ones, they'll melt. Wrap them in socks or towels, and stuff them inside your clothing or under your blankets. These DIY hot water bottles stay warm for hours. They work better than the most battery-powered heaters, and you can reuse the water endlessly. Another hack, line your floor. Heat rises, but cold penetrates up from the ground. Sleeping on a bare floor in a frozen house is like sleeping on an ice cube. Put down cardboard, rugs, towels, yoga mats, blankets, anything. Your floor insulation matters more than your blankets. Now let's talk about mistakes. I'm telling you right now, Even smart people get these wrong. First mistake: lighting a charcoal grill, propane heater, or gas generator inside your house. People do this every year and it kills entire families. Carbon monoxide is silent, invisible, odorless, and it will drop you where you stand. Only use devices indoors if they are specifically rated for indoor use. Another mistake: letting yourself sweat. I know you're freezing, so you want to stay bundled up. But if you start sweating, your clothes get damp. Damp clothes steal heat like crazy. If you feel warm enough to sweat, remove a layer. You have to stay dry at all costs. Another big one: drinking alcohol to warm up. Alcohol doesn't warm you. It tricks your blood vessels into opening up, which makes you lose heat faster. That warm feeling is your heat escaping. Let's talk about water. In a frozen house, your water pipes are racing the clock. Once they freeze, they can burst, and when they thaw, they flood your house. Before they freeze, fill everything you can. Bathtubs, buckets, pots, pitchers, water bottles. Because in a cold crisis, water becomes as valuable as heat. Not just for drinking, but for making hot water bottles, washing hands, flushing toilets. If you don't have running water, you're suddenly dealing with hygiene and sanitation issues on top of cold. Trust me, you don't want that. Food becomes simpler. You want high-calorie, high-fat, easy-to-eat foods that don't require cooking. Peanut butter, nuts, chocolate, tortillas, canned chili, tuna, trail mix. Your body needs calories to produce heat. Starving in a cold house accelerates hypothermia. Let's talk night survival now, because night is where people really panic. Cold feels worse at night, and your body naturally lowers its temperature during sleep. That's a dangerous combo. The solution is routine. Before bed, change into dry clothes. Layer up. Pre-warm your sleeping area with hot water bottles or a candle. Seal your tent or sleeping setup tightly. And do not sleep directly against a cold wall. You'll lose heat continuously. Sleep in the middle of the room if you can. Now, I want to give you one of the most powerful psychological tricks for cold survival. Keep your brain busy. Cold plays mind games. It makes you think you're more tired than you are. It makes you want to give up. So you need tasks. Check your layers every hour. Rotate your water bottles. Do small exercises to generate heat. Not enough to sweat, just enough to boost circulation. Wiggle your toes. Rotate your wrists. Stand up and sit down 10 times. These micro movements keep your blood warm and your mind alert. If you have kids, keeping morale up becomes crucial. Make it a game. Build the tent together. Have them help with insulation. Give them jobs, even if it's just checking drafts or organizing blankets. Fear spreads faster in the cold, and your job is to keep everyone's brain activated. Let's talk about breath condensation. When your house gets below freezing, you start to see your own breath, and all that moisture lands on windows, walls, and bedding. Over time, it collects, freezes, and creates frost. That frost can actually make your insulation worse, so wipe condensation regularly. Ventilate for 30 seconds every few hours if needed. I know that sounds crazy, opening your window during a freeze, but short ventilation prevents moisture buildup, which actually keeps you warmer long term. Now let's get into emergency heat hacks nobody thinks about. First, terracotta pots. Not the TikTok version, the real version. If you have a gas stove, not electric, you can turn on one burner and place a terracotta pot upside down over it. The pot absorbs heat and radiates it gently. But you must crack a window slightly to prevent gas buildup, and never leave it unattended. Another hack: hand warmers. Those little chemical heat packs, they're lifesavers. Stick them in your socks, your gloves, your pockets, your sleeping bag. Another insanely effective trick: use your oven space as an insulated box, not turned on. I'm not telling you to run your oven. I'm telling you that your oven is a sealed, insulated chamber. You can store blankets, water bottles, or food inside it to keep it above freezing. Here's another psychological trick cold hates: movement. Not the run a marathon movement. Small periodic movement. Hypothermia makes people sit still. Stillness leads to stiffness. Stiffness leads to slower circulation. Slower circulation leads to faster cooling. Every hour, do a 2-minute warm-up. March in place, rotate your arms, breathe deeply. You don't want to sweat. You just want to stay alive. Let's talk about pets. They get cold faster than you think. Dogs and cats lose heat through their paws and ears. They need a microclimate too. Give them a tent, a blanket nest, anything. Let them sleep with you. They boost the temperature significantly. Now let's get into a few emergency hacks that come straight out of old-school Arctic survival. First is the candle in a can heater. Take a metal coffee can. Put 3 or 4 tea candles inside. The metal traps heat. Place it near your feet or hands. Again, never leave open flames unattended. But in a cold crisis, this is a simple, effective heat booster. Another one, reflective material. Emergency blankets, aluminum foil, shiny insulation. Anything that reflects heat. Tape it behind you while you sleep. Put it behind a candle. Reflect your own heat back toward your body. And here's one you probably never thought about. Insulate your body from the inside. Hot drinks, not lukewarm, hot as safe. Your core temp rises from the inside out. And that internal heat lasts longer than anything external. All right, let's talk about your daily routine during a 72-hour freeze. Day 1. Setup. Seal drafts, pick your room, build your tent, gather water, prepare clothing. Day 2. Maintenance. Manage condensation. Rotate heat sources, check your insulation. Monitor everyone's mental state. Day 3. Stability. By now, your house is deeply frozen, and the goal is to keep your microclimate alive until the crisis ends. If you feel cold creeping into your bones, that's the warning sign. Cold starts in your extremities, fingers, toes, nose, ears. If those go numb, you're losing heat too fast. Rewarm them immediately. Another warning sign, confusion. If you start forgetting things, fumbling tasks, zoning out, you are getting dangerously cold. Fix it immediately. I want to talk about one last thing. Hope. Cold makes people hopeless. The silence, the darkness, the discomfort. It wears you down. So set goals. Hourly goals. Daily goals. Keep a flashlight by your bed. Keep your room tidy. Every small win adds up. Cold is predictable. It follows rules. And once you understand those rules, you can beat the cold every time. This isn't about being tough. This is about being prepared. Because once you know how to survive 72 hours in a frozen house, you can survive almost anything. If this helped you, hit like, subscribe if you haven't, and tell me in the comments what part of your home you're insulating first. The best time to prepare for winter was last month. The second best time is right now. Stay warm, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.